See the places, meet the people. That's what we aim to do on a McCabe pilgrimage to the Holy Land. In the next few minutes, we'll give you just a taste of a typical 10-day pilgrimage based in Jerusalem and in Tiberias by the Sea of Galilee. After flying with either El Al or BA on the Tuesday, our first view of Jerusalem on the Wednesday morning is from the top of the Mount of Olives. Across the Kidron Valley, we can see the old city, dominated by the Dome of the Rock. The first place we visit on the Mount of Olives is Pater Noster Church, where the Lord's Prayer is displayed in many different languages. We follow the road taken by Jesus on Palm Sunday to reach Dominus Flevit Chapel, commemorating how Jesus wept for Jerusalem. It's a lovely setting for our first Holy Communion service. In the valley below, past the Orthodox Church of St. Mary Magdalene, is the Garden of Gethsemane and the Church of All Nations. Here we remember the agony of Jesus in the garden. After his arrest, Jesus was taken to the high priest's house, marked today by the Church of St. Peter in Gallicantu. Below the church, a dungeon where Jesus may have been imprisoned. On the outskirts of Jerusalem, we can see a detailed model of the city at the time of Jesus, dominated, of course, by the temple. We end the day at Yad Vashem, the memorial to the Holocaust. An eternal flame burns in memory of the 6 million victims, and the names of the children who died are recited continuously.
Moshe Weissman, 12 years old, Romania.
It's Thursday morning, and we're on our way to Bethlehem, just 5 miles from Jerusalem. The town is in Palestinian territory, so we have to pass through an Israeli checkpoint. In the middle of the town is Manger Square and the Church of the Holy Nativity. We enter through a low stone doorway. There's been a church here since the 4th century. This is part of the original mosaic floor. Underneath the main church, with its lamps and icons, is the Grotto of the Nativity. No, not a stable, but a cave, and here, marked by a silver star, the traditional place where Jesus was born. Close by, in another cave, is where St. Jerome first translated the Bible into Latin, around 400 AD. After lunch, we travel to the Shepherd's Fields. Here, behind a modern church, is an ancient cave set out as a chapel. Is this where shepherds sheltered in the wintertime? Our next stop is the village of Bethany, home of Martha, Mary and Lazarus. We're here to visit one of the projects supported by McCabe's. The Jil al-Amal Boys' Home began in the 70s when Alice Sahar took 10 orphan boys into her own home. Today, her daughter Samar tells us that there are now over 70 boys living here, and another 100 children attend the day school. On the edge of Bethany, a new venture, Charlie's Bakery, named after a supporter from the north of England. It's now a successful business run by 2 former Jil boys, and it raises much-needed funds for the school. We encourage all pilgrim parties to include a visit to somewhere like Jil in their itinerary. Our visits are always appreciated, and since McCabe's began, over £1 million has been donated by pilgrims to support the ongoing work of the Christian community, the living stones of the Holy Land. Friday dawns, and there's a choice today. You can have a free day in Jerusalem, or take an optional trip to the wilderness and the Dead Sea, the lowest place on the face of the earth, 1,400 feet below sea level. We quickly climb those 1,400 feet again on a cable car to the hilltop fortress of Masada. It was here in 73 AD that 960 men, women and children committed suicide rather than surrender to the Romans. Back on the shores of the Dead Sea, the unique experience of floating in the salty water. After lunch, we head north to Qumran, where in 1947 a shepherd boy discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls, right here in this cave. Nearby, the headquarters of the strict Jewish sect called the Essenes. On the way back to Jerusalem, a drive down the Wadi Kelt, the ancient road from Jerusalem to Jericho. Here, built into the hillside, the ancient monastery of St. George, dating back to 480 AD. Back at the Golden Walls Hotel, it's the night of the Sultan's Feast, a chance to taste traditional Arab dishes. Saturday morning, and it's just a short journey across the city to the Dormition Abbey. An ancient tradition says that the Virgin Mary spent her final years here on Mount Zion. Close by is a possible site of the Upper Room, though this building is only 1,000 years old. From here we walk through the Zion Gate to the Western Wall, also known as the Wailing Wall. It's all that's left of the Jewish temple destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD, and today it's the holiest place for Jews. Above the Western Wall is the Temple Mount, known to Muslims as Haram al-Sharif. This is a holy place for all Muslims who believe that it's where Muhammad ascended to heaven. The Al-Aqsa Mosque was built here in 715 AD. The Dome of the Rock is built over what may be the site of Mount Moriah, where Abraham prepared to sacrifice his son Isaac. Leaving the Temple Mount, we walk to the Church of St. Anne, the Mother of Mary. In the grounds are the remains of the Pool of Bethesda, where Jesus healed the paralyzed man. Then we start to climb the route followed by Jesus on his way from trial to execution. The Via Dolorosa passes through the crowded streets of the Muslim quarter, and we pause briefly for a prayer at each of the Stations of the Cross. At the top of the Via Dolorosa, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. The church is inside the present walls of Jerusalem, but at the time of Jesus, this was a quarry outside the city wall, and it was the Roman place of execution. The highest chapel in the church is built over the hill of Calvary. Pilgrims kneel beneath the altar to touch the rock. Passing by the stone of anointing, we reach the shrine built over the tomb itself. There's no sign of the original tomb now, and it's hard to imagine what it must have looked like until you move a few yards further on. Here there's a 1st century tomb carved out of solid rock. The tomb of Jesus may have looked something like this. One thing's for sure, pilgrims have come to this place to celebrate Christ's death and resurrection for at least 1700 years. Sunday morning. Some pilgrims like to get up well before breakfast and join in the early service at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. For others, it's the peaceful atmosphere of the Garden Tomb, established in the 19th century by General Gordon of Khartoum. And there's always a warm welcome for pilgrims at St. George's Anglican Cathedral. Sunday afternoon is free time, a chance to revisit the old city, just a short walk from our hotel. Monday morning, and we're off to Galilee. Leaving Jerusalem, we stop briefly at Abu Ghosh, a traditional site of the village of Emmaus, where Jesus walked with 2 disciples on the first Easter day. There's a beautiful Crusader church with some very ancient frescoes. On towards the Mediterranean coast, and a stop at the port city of Caesarea Maritima, built by Herod the Great not long before the birth of Jesus. There's a magnificent theatre, the ruins of Herod's palace, and a great aqueduct running along the beach. En route to Galilee, we could stop off at one of 3 other historical sites: the Crusader city of Acco, or the hill of Megiddo, inhabited since 4000 BC and known in the Bible as the site of the Battle of Armageddon. Or maybe the ruins of the great city of Sepphoris. It's just 4 miles from Nazareth and was being built at exactly the time when Jesus was growing up. Was this where Joseph worked as a builder and carpenter? Did his son walk these streets with him? We're not far now from the Sea of Galilee. Our hotel for the next 3 nights is the Ron Beach, right on the lakeside, with a pool for a cooling swim after the journey. The restaurant offers a wide range of dishes served buffet style, and wine from Mount Carmel. The sun rises over the lake on Tuesday morning and we drive the few miles to Capernaum, the village that Jesus made his base during his ministry. This was a thriving fishing village, and here was the house of Simon Peter. A modern church, rather like a flying saucer, now stands above the house. There's a 4th century synagogue, probably built on the same site as the synagogue where Jesus taught. Just along the road, the church of Mensa Christi, the table of Christ. Here, Jesus cooked breakfast for his disciples on the beach after the resurrection. It's the perfect setting for a simple lakeside service. Nearby, the Church of the Loaves and Fishes, with its ancient mosaics. The Church of the Beatitudes stands on a hill above the lake. In the church, we're reminded of the Sermon on the Mount. The sisters at the nearby convent entertain us to lunch, and on the menu, St. Peter's fish, caught in the Sea of Galilee. For the journey back to Tiberias, we sail on a replica fishing boat, stopping partway across the lake to read the story of the stilling of the storm.
And rebuked the wind and the raging waters. The storm subsided, and all was calm.
One of the crew then demonstrates the technique of casting a net, which has been used since Bible times. Wednesday is our last full day in the Holy Land. We start with a ride up Mount Tabor. The coach can't manage the twisting road, so we transfer to taxis. On the summit, the Basilica of the Transfiguration, and a wonderful view across Galilee. Just a few miles to the west is Nazareth, where we have lunch at St. Margaret's Hostel. Then a walk through the town, visiting Mary's Well and the Orthodox Church of St. Gabriel, the old synagogue, now a Melkite church, St. Joseph's Church, and the Basilica of the Annunciation, built over the traditional site of Mary's house. Around the church are pictures of the Madonna and Child from all over the world. And nearby, archaeologists have discovered a series of cave dwellings, probably dating back to the time of Jesus. So we have walked where Jesus walked, prayed where Jesus prayed. We've met the people, the living stones of the Holy Land. You may have been to the Holy Land before. You may be thinking about going for the first time. A pilgrimage to the Holy Land is always a memorable experience, and for some people, a life-changing experience. McCabe's and our friends in the Holy Land look forward to welcoming you soon.